to the first actual section of the course, which is about pipe. So let's talk about the operator pipe, when to use it and how to use it. And then there will be some examples for you to try out. And that will be in this directory here, piping, WC and cut. So I am going to go into that directory, and you can see there's a whole bunch of files there. Some have stuff in them, some don't, and they are mainly named in ways that make them useful for these exercises. So the operator pipe or pipeline is used to chain commands, and I think you already know this. And pipes are used when you want to take the output of one command and use it as input for another command. And it's symbolized by this line here. And I guess it depends a little on which system you have and where your keyboard. But on mine, it's located in the lower left corner. In some, it will be in the upper right corner. And I guess on Mac keyboards, it might be different again. I am running Linux on this computer, so and I'm using a Nordic keyboard. In many cases, you can do the same with an intermediate file or more, as you do with piping, but it's often better to just combine the commands with one or more pipes. And pipes are very useful, and you will see that in the following sections. So the syntax of pipe is something like this here. You have a command and you are piping it, sending it to command 2, which you might send to next command and next. And you can put many chained commands here with pipes. And some Linux commands in this section for illustrating how pipes work. They are all covered in the basic Linux course, and they are all prerequisites, but there is a brief reminder of their functions here. So if there is one of these that you don't immediately remember what does, then you can go here and look at it to see that less does forward, backward navigation, more cat for outputting the content of a file or for merging files, concatenating files. There's find, and find is used for file and directory search, and we are going to assume you know that. But we are also going to use it in these examples. Also going to use sort, head, tail, echo, and possibly T. So this is a quick reminder of what these commands do, and you can go back and look at this reminder here if you need it. So let's go ahead and give some examples of piping. And now I highly recommend that you type along. So if you haven't already gotten the tarball, then please go ahead and do that now, and then unpack it or untar it. And I am going to give you a few minutes to just get that done, so I'm sure everyone has done that. So let's say until 9:12. Okay, so I'm hoping everyone got the tarball and got it unpacked and are now ready to type along. I'm not seeing anyone raising their hands to say anything, so I will continue. So let's look at a first example of a pipe. You might want to list all files and directories and then give the input to more. And the reason for that might be because you have a lot of files. So it might fill more than one screen. It doesn't in this case, but it might. So if you say my ls minus L, then it takes up more space. I'm assuming you just had a small screen like this, then maybe you don't see all of it. And so you would want to use a pipe and then more. Doing that would then, and this doesn't work because of, I just need a larger screen then. Okay. So let's say you have a small window or too small to show all your many files in your directory. So you say ls minus L as you wanted to, and then you pipe it to more. And in that case, it will look like this here. And that means that you can then look at what was at the top, and then you can press the tab or the enter or the space, and either of those will work. And space, then you just go on to the next part of it. So that is a very simple example of using a pipe. And it will show this more here at the bottom. What then if you have this output, ls minus L, again, and you wanted to sort it, because in this here, it just sorts it alphabetically, but maybe that's not how you wanted it sorted. Of course, there are flags or options to ls that might help you to sort it the way you want, but you can also use sort. And let's try and do that and see what happens. And you can see that in this case, it sorts it in a different way than it would otherwise. In fact, it sorts it by file size. And it does, as you can see, it doesn't do the sorting that you would assume it does. It sorts it by the first number here. So you can see it doesn't sort it by the largest, it actually just sorts column 5, which is the one you had here. So what happens if you said, for instance, column 6 or 7? Let's take 7 instead. Then it sorts it by that. So that is a way of sorting. So you simply sort the column in this way. But you could do that with ls minus L minus S, of course. But still, it's useful to know that you could sort it simply with piping it to another command, because you would have less control of it if you're using an option to ls. Whereas otherwise, you could actually pick any column, and you could also do it to, for instance, the content of a file. So now we had the file sorted lexicographically. What if you want to do it the other way around? So so you're sorting it in reverse order. So you could do ls minus L minus S, and then do sorting on column 5 like before. And then now we are giving it an N to tell it N to tell it to sort the opposite way, so it doesn't sort it by lexicographically. Now it sorts it numerically instead. And there's an error here. There should be a dash in front of the N. So this is a way of using two commands to get the output that you want to. And this is a useful output because maybe you simply want to see what is the largest file. And you could also use it to get, for instance, the newest file or something like this if you sort it by that column. It doesn't give us very interesting output here because I created all the files on the same day. So let's continue to use one pipe, and then in this case, let's use both echo and sort together. So echo is going to echo whatever thing you write again. So if you said echo hello there, then it would echo hello there. So let's try instead of sorting this output. So let's write something. Hi, this is some text. It to get something to sort. And here you can, as long as you are not ending it with the start quotation mark. So as long as you're not putting another quotation mark, it will continue receiving input. So now I have 3 lines. I'm going to end it by putting in quotation mark. And then I am simply going to, instead of just outputting this, I'm going to sort it. So I'm putting a pipe, and then I say sort. And then it sorts the lines. And you can see that because of that, the lines are now out of order. So it took this one first, and this one, and this one. Whereas if I had just echoed it, it would have been in the right order. So that's how that works. So let's use 2 pipes. Let's put head and tail together to print the lines in a specific range in a file. Now, before I do anything else, I'm going to show, and I'm also going to clear the screen to get up to the top of the screen so it's easier to see. I'm going to cat the content of new file.txt so you can see what's inside of it. And then I'm going to go ahead and say head on it. And head is, as you probably know, the first lines of a file. So I'm taking the 3 first lines of a file. And then I'm also going to use tail on the output from head. And then I'm going to say tail -2. So what this will do is that it will take the 3 first lines of this file, and then it will take the 2 last lines of the output. And you can see it actually did, because it took these 3, and then it took those 2 here. So sorry, it took these 3, and then it took those 2. So it did what we wanted it to do. And this can be useful if you have a long text and you know that you have some material further down and you only want to, for instance, grab a specific line numbers inside of the file. Then you can use head and tail to specify what window of your file you want to see. So again, let's use 2 pipes to print lines of output from the ls command. So you have ls, and I think I'm going to do ls -l. And then let's grab, what should we grab? Let's take maybe the first 4 lines. And then we are piping that output to tail. And then I will take the last of those lines. And I will again clear the screen so you can actually see what's going on. So it will simply take this line here, and I can show you that it did right. So it took the first 4 lines, and then it took the last line, which is this. So we have 4 lines, and then it took the last line. If you instead had done ls and then grabbed the first 2 lines, or 4 lines, let's do that instead, and then say tail -1, then it gets this 1 line here. Or rather, it gets the first part of it, which it should not have. Let's see what's right done. Let's clear the screen. So it's actually only showing the first part of it, which it should not. Okay, I will look at that later. But no, it's doing the right thing because it's only going to take the first line of the first column. So that is correct. And you could see that the only reason we got a longer line before was because we actually had a longer line in that output. So that is fine. So let's use 2 pipes to sort the output of tail on ls. So again, let's see what the output is. And then let us grab all these 14 last lines. When you do that, you can see this is what you get. So you're getting the last 14 lines. And then let's sort those lines. So you grabbed the last lines and sorted those. So let's try and make a command with even more pipes in it. And for this example, I'm going to use find and sort and tail. The first part here, find, is going to look for files which has the suffix .text, and this is just saying that what I want are files, not directories, for instance. And I'm saying that the name of those files must contain .text. And then I'm sorting that, and then I'm grabbing the last 4 lines of the sorted list. So again, clear the screen. Let's try and see the output of them one by one to see it does what we want it to do. So we are looking for files, and they should contain the word, the part of the word .text, like this. And you can see here you actually get those files that has text in the name. And you know you can use arrow up to get a command back again, so you can repeat it or edit it. So I'm going to put a pipe. I'm going to sort the output I just got. And you can see now it's sorted. Then I'm going to only grab the last of them. And I'm going to take the last 4. And you can see it did this. I mean, now we are simply working on the output of this directory, but this is useful for many things for sorting this here. And we got the output that we expected. So try and use more pipes again. I will put even one more on here. So let's again find a file. Find in this directory with the dot and a file, and then something that contains dot text in its name, and we sort it like we did before. And then we are grabbing the first 4 lines, and then we are going to use T to send it to a file that we will name list.txt. And there should now also be a file list.txt. So let's cat that and see if it has the same content, and it does. So we can actually add as many commands after each other as we want to. Let's see, what is the time? I just need to know that. I have time. So let's do the exercises. And let's take until 5 minutes past half. So 9:35, I will continue. So you have seen pipe is a very useful operator, and that's actually one of the operators I'm using most when I'm working on the command line. And you will meet it again in later sections, so it's very important to be able to use that well. And it will be combined with many commands, and you will also see it in scripts, and it will be common everywhere. So let's go